Okay, I'm Maddie Lane.
I'm Noah Palachek.
And I'm Alec Needham. We are Group 6, and this is our project. It is called Durango's Computer Science Bonanza.
Okay, so our problem was students needing to study on the go without hauling their notes or their other materials with them. So just a simpler way to study. And the impact of this will help relieve some of the stress for students who have busy schedules, like if they're at work or if they have sports events, they'll be able to study more easily on the go.
Okay, so while we were looking at our market research stuff, we found out there's not really a whole lot of flashcard applications available. There weren't really a whole lot of study applications that you could just pick up and just start studying some of your terms. So if you don't like the one or two apps that are available online, then it can really be difficult if you want to study on the go. So we wanted to create something that could cater to the user's studying style. If somebody just loved flashcards and all that stuff, then they can just go to the flashcard section of our app. If they want to quiz themselves, they can go to the quiz part. They could basically do a lot of things with the app. Now, we based our flashcard section off of Quizlet, and we really liked Quizlet because it was very flexible and it allowed for the user to study a vast amount of information very easily. And then we also looked at Duolingo, which, while it doesn't really have a whole lot of flashcards and stuff, it still has a lot of different modes and stuff to use that can help someone study to find out a new language. So Duolingo's variety and study mechanisms allowed learning to be fun. And I believe that if something is actually fun to the user, then they can actually understand it. And then the citations that we have are on the bottom, and if you want to go look at those, they're right there.
All right, and this is our paper prototype. The tools we had available weren't quite the best for the situation, but we got something that made sense to us at least. So if you direct your attention to the top center of the screen, that is our first page with our introduction for Durango's Card Bonanza and the button for Begin Studying. And if you go down to the center, that goes to our options page, which from there you can then go to the flashcards section, the game section, and the quiz section. And following all the arrows, you can see the logical progression of a start screen for each sub game, if you want to call it that, the actual game, quiz, or flashcard section, and then a results section for the most part. And from there, you can see how it all links together back to the options page and so forth.
Okay, and as you saw on the paper prototype, our app ended up consisting of 11 different screens to accommodate the three options you can choose to study, since we have the flashcard section, a game section, and then a quiz section for the user to test their knowledge. On the right here on the screen, you can see this is our home button where the user will select their option. And then here is a sample from each of the game modes or study modes. So the first one there is the flashcards, the middle is the quiz, and the right side is the game. We'll go into it more in the demo, which is here on the next screen. So the user starts with a welcome screen with the name of the app, and then you click the begin button and it'll take you to the three options. We'll go ahead and start with the flashcards option. It takes you to a welcome screen with directions on how to use the flashcard section, and there is a home button that'll take you back to the options screen. And then the begin button will take you to the flashcards. So you are presented a word and then you click it and it takes you to the definition of the term, and the next and back buttons take you to each of the terms where when you click it always gives you the term for that specific word. And then you can just hit the home button and move on. So next is the game.
Okay, and then here for the game, basically all you want to do is click on the correct term, and you basically have 3 lives, and if you get the question wrong, well, then you lose a life. After you lose all 3 of your lives, then you lose the game. And it's your goal to get up to 10 questions correct. And if you could click on Start Playing, that button works. So on this game, you're presented with the question, and you want to match up the term with the definition. So if you want to say, oh, an extra piece of information passed to a function to customize it for a specific need, you have to think to yourself, now what would that be? And then if you click on the correct one, which would be parameter, well, look at us, then you get score. You have to get up to 10, and then you win. But if you get it wrong again, press byte for me. That would be wrong. Okay, you look up to the top and you lose a point. You lose your lives, and it goes on the same question. So if you're really stuck on something, then you can keep trying and trying again until you actually get it right. So you can actually learn the material instead of it just going away. Okay? And then if you just would lose for me, Maddie, then you're presented with a screen that says you lost all of your lives, and then you can either go home or play again. Now, this game is a little basic, but if you just want a different way to study instead of just going to flashcards or just going to a quiz, then this game is right for you. And now Maddie's speeding through the game so she can show you the screen you're presenting with you when you win. And you get some lovely guys telling you good job, and you get the satisfaction of learning the words of which you studied. And then next is the quiz by Alec.
All right, so if you go ahead and click the quiz, you are met with a welcome screen and, of course, a nice little message, keep calm, it's quiz time. So once you go ahead and hit start, then you will see the actual quiz. On each screen, of course, there is still the home button that always gets you back to that options menu. So similar to Noah's, this quiz is based off of a score of getting to 10, and of course, then you do well. So every time so each option is, or each answer is a button. By clicking, let's just say, go ahead and click, oh wait, you're on the right one. So let's go ahead and click the wrong one. Let's just say, go ahead and hit premonitions, there you go. So it does not add anything to the score, but if you go ahead and click D on that one, you should see, yep, that adds 1 to the score. So it is already preset to only do 10 questions, and then after that, go ahead and speed through and just get to the end. Then you should see a results screen with, hey, you got a blank out of 10. I have set it to basically anything 6 or lower, you get this same message. And then go ahead and hit try again. Let's hit start again. And let's go for like a 7 or an 8.
Oh, I totally didn't. Sorry.
My bad. I did not give you the answer to this.
No,
Sorry.
you're fine. I just kind of was clicking.
But basically, you are met with a different message at the end. Let's see.
There you
Yep. And then, yep, you're met with keep trying to get a perfect score. And then once you get 10 out of 10, then from there you get great job. Do you want to keep going? But then at the end of my portion, you do see the buttons to go back to the flashcards application or back to the game option. So you can, of course, try again since mine is the last in the grand scheme of all the applications. And that is our app.
Okay, and then we are going to go and just check out the code for some of them, just some of the features, especially the prominent ones that were used a lot. if it loads.
There we go.
So we'll just stick to the block. So this is, I did the flashcard section, and one of the big things was using an array to store the terms and the definitions. So I had a definition array with each of the terms definitions, and then the term array which had each of the words, and then each item is lined up with the appropriate definition to the word. So that way the index in the array for the definition and the word remain the same. And then we'll scroll down and look at something from the game.
Got a lot of on event screen stuff there.
Yes.
So basically with my little game, which I did, you start out with the variables score and lives, which you obviously start out with 0 score and 3 lives. And if you scroll down, then they change with if you get the question right or wrong. And on each of the terms you see, it sets a variable called the game term index to whichever index is on the list of definitions above. So basically, if you go down to game check term, which is right there, if the game term index, which is what you get from clicking on the term, then if that equals the definition index, which you get from the array of definitions up above, then the score increases by 1. Otherwise, it obviously your lives go down by 1. And then on each time you click on a term, it checks to make sure if the score is 10 or the lives are 0. And if that doesn't, if either of those happen, then obviously the screen changes to, oh, you win or you lose. And also, it resets the game every time you lose to the variable score is 0 and lives is 3. So overall, it's fairly basic, but it gets the job done. It helped me learn those terms a lot better than I already knew them. So it can be pretty helpful if you're in a pinch and want to study some.
And then we'll move on and look at Alex's code for the quiz.
Yes, I ended up doing the quiz, and mine wasn't all too dissimilar from Noah's, but it just took it 1 or 2 steps further. So basically, mine ended up being probably about 2 or 3 different arrays, like maybe one within another. So one was for the actual question bank. One was for a couple of the like specific arrays for each specific question. And then I had one that was the actual, like the true answers. So the tricky part was getting the app to respond the correct way once you click each button as well. So if you keep scrolling down, yeah, that was a headache. Basically, you'll start seeing our on event buttons. So, of course, welcome home, welcome start. And the goal there was to have a function that reset the actual quiz once again before the quiz actually started so that it actually worked each time you cleared out and go back again. And then that also filtered through, that kind of fixed if you went to other apps and then came back. And then there's a function that's quiz score check that also went through and checks to see if you have gone through 10 questions exactly. And then once it's done that, then it applies the correct message at the end once you go through and get 10 correctly, or any from 10 or 9 to 7 and then 6 or below. Then going down from there, you start to see the quiz score count, which once again adds numbers to the score as you go through. And then from there, it's really just the programming for each individual button and going through to check the count is correct, the actual score check is valid, and then it's just basically the results page with the rest of the functions. So a lot of repetition, but it was just stacked on top of each other multiple times. And yeah, that's most of the code.
Okay, so that's our demo for the app. And so,
Now,
hang on.
honestly, we were fairly happy with the outcome of Durango's computer science bonanza. But one thing that we were a little wanting to do is that we kind of wanted users to add their own vocab. And with Durango's computer science bonanza, you couldn't really add any other things like math, economics, or basically anything. So Durango's computer science bonanza only really focused on Durango's computer science. So if we could have allowed users to add their own vocab, we would have been a little more happier with the outcome. But given the tight time restrictions for this project, we were a little, what's the word? Time pressed in order to get this out. So yeah, other than that, we were fairly happy with the variety of study mechanisms that the user can use to understand computer science.
And then jumping on top of that, so kind of breaking down our reflection down into the bullet points you see. What we did well, as Noah said, yeah, we did end up doing a lot for this app, and we all definitely put a lot of work into it, and it works really well. We're all super happy with it. What was difficult at initially was, of course, coming up with an idea. We had to change gears and shift our focus away from our initial idea into something different. And I think at the end that actually worked in our favor. Um, what we learned, we all got a lot of experience in arrays. We should all be pretty comfortable with them, in addition to some other concepts. And definitely the next step, as Noah said, yeah, we would wish to allow users to add their own vocabulary, maybe another game mode or two, something to further round out the app into something that could be really useful, not for just a couple things, but for maybe other things as well. Yeah, and going on to our resources.
So this here is just a couple of the websites and articles we referenced while we were coming up with our plan and the problem that we were trying to solve. And with that, that concludes our presentation for Durango's Computer Science Bonanza. Hope you enjoyed. It was a good project.